Hi guys, welcome to the channel. So it is a bit windy today. I'm attempting to do a vlog, and yeah, I'm at an event where whoa, hold on. I'm at an event, and yeah, so I'm super excited to kind of learn from all the speakers, and I'm just gonna wow, look at this. I'm just gonna share with you guys like the stuff that I'm learning, and hopefully we can actually have a proper sit down where I kind of take you guys through like the exact details of what's happening today. So yeah, literally stay tuned, and then I hope you guys actually enjoy this video. Thing is to kind of give you guys a brief of the event. It is basically Suits and Sneakers, and they're partnering with QuickBooks, and it's really just to create a space for entrepreneurs to come together and really educate each other.
Energy. I think you all agree that if anybody asks you what the new name for the month of November is, we can all say South Africa. And, and just for so many reasons. But as we obviously watch so many of the achievements in so many different categories.
There are 68 other professors, and 69 of them worked together for 7 years. They studied the world's economy since the death of Jesus. What is interesting is of the 69 professors that worked on the project, 42 of them were not Christians. That is to say, they would have had to start a research project predicated on an event they don't believe happened. And what they sought to do was to study the world's economy since the death of Jesus. They measured this quantum of total economic activity, a measure called GDP. You see it in the dark blue line. You notice between the 1st and the 18th century, the rate of GDP growth in the world is linear. 19th and 20th century, more specifically, there was an exponential rise, now a very common word used often by people who don't understand its implications, but an exponential rise in GDP productivity. What are the facts? The land mass of Earth didn't grow, so it's not as if we produced more because the Earth became bigger. Most people think it's because we live longer, and that is true. It's supported by the lighter blue line. That's average life expectancy. I want you to consider this. 150 years ago, if you had the common flu, it would kill you. Today, if you have the common flu, you don't even use your medical aid. You go to the local Dis-Chem or Clicks, you buy yourself some ACC 200, some Barocca C, and some Barocca and some Corenza C. You then go home and you open up your cupboards where all of you, especially the ladies, excuse me here, but all of you have your own Dis-Chem and Clicks. Which, if you're not aware, is actually illegal. True story. This is an absolute true story. My mom has paracetamol that expired in 1996. I asked her, why do you have it? She says, because paracetamol doesn't expire, it evolves. I have fuck all clue what that means. The other day, my kids went to visit, and my mom tried to give them that exact paracetamol. See, we had a difficult conversation. Isn't it interesting, and I wonder if I could pause it for a minute, but isn't it interesting how when you have children, even to your parents, you're still a child? It's a very interesting dynamic, right? Because you see your mom parenting your child the way you wouldn't parent your child. And you want to interject, but you can't because it's your mom. And then your child is looking at you like, why are you allowing yourself to be emasculated? But you're not really, it's your mom. It's fascinating. But anyway, I think there's a subject for a thesis in this. So the point this graph makes is a very simple one. This planet of ours, this little rock called Earth, has never been better inhabited than it is today. There's never been a better time to be this little species called a human being on this little rock of ours. Certainly not for the past 2,000 years. If this is true, and my argument is that it is, then would you help me understand why the world today is perhaps more unequal than it's been in a long time? And I think the reason for that is even though there is a creation of wealth, the participation in that wealth creation is often to the people who, like you and I, live in the formal economies. So this is what I've been spending the past 5 years of my life trying to break. And let me tell you, if somebody told me before I started what I was getting myself into, I wouldn't have done it. But like a domkop, and any of you who follow me on Twitter will know why that's like the domkop that I am, I actually went and did it. So what I thought I'd do is help you frame and understand this problem. Have a quick look at this.
Closed Johannesburg's University on Witwatersrand 2 weeks ago.
There is evidence the Syrian government recently used chemical weapons against its own people.
The UN ordered Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein to remove his troops from Kuwait or else.
The failure of the Geneva talks seems to have convinced the Pentagon that war is imminent.
Troops on the streets of Harare as the generals take control.
Law enforcement officials in England say the devices went off outside the seating area.
Explosions have been heard in the capital there, Harare. There are military vehicles and soldiers.
We are currently treating this as a terrorist incident.
A plane crashed.
Was described to be the size of a 747.
We have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers.
Any kind of an effort up there? Yeah, there were never. Oh my God.
I want you to consider that you live in a time where young people have to take to the streets and march for something as basic as an education. And I want us perhaps as a country to reflect whether or not that fits the consciousness of what we're trying to do. I had the audience once of the Minister of Education, her son, Vusi, is a dear friend of mine. So I asked, I said, Ma, maybe help me understand, but why did this need to happen? She said, well, because the way the system of education is built, and if you're not aware, allow me a moment just to explain this to you. It takes the Department of Education in South Africa anything between 3 to 4 years to come up with a feasibility study that makes the build of an education institution like university possible. It then takes an additional year to budget for such. You're now into year 4 or 5, say. But more to the point, it takes anything between 7 and 8 years to actually build that university. So at any point in time, to create one more seat in a university, you're 13 years away from that. What you also need to consider is we're graduating 500,000 young people every single year from high schools. This is why it's important to read the book, The Memoirs of Ndlovu. That tunnel effect was deliberate, was done on purpose. That's why there's potholes on your roads. It's because the infrastructure wasn't built for everybody. But I think rather than seek to build solutions, what we're doing is arguing who's to blame and who's to vote for whom. And so we get lost in the moment of political point scoring rather than actually coming up with solutions that fix the problem. So she says to me, Vusi, we're 13 years out of building one additional seat. I said, okay, that's fair. But ma'am, I think what young people are saying is they need an education. They didn't say they need a university. What they're saying is they want schooling. They didn't say they want schools. You have banking. You don't really need a bank. There is, although subtle, a critical difference. But tied up in linear thinking, we think institutions are the solution. Consider that most of you probably haven't been to the bank in the past week, but you've probably been on your banking app just today, man. Time and Discovery Bank both are proving that you can do it without an infrastructure. So I said to her, ma'am, I have the solution, and it will cost you nothing. I just want 1% of the proceeds. So here's what you do. Ring up Apple and tell them, call them in the US, tell them that you want to buy 8 million iPads, and then ship them to you. Then you take all of those 8 million iPads and you send them to every single young person who's in a township somewhere in South Africa that is either unemployed, unemployable, or is not in a university. Then what you do is you go to the Minister of Education, who you should know him because you sit on the NEC with him. You tell him to pass a law that zero rates the cost of data for the delivery of educational content. Then what you do is you go to all of the educational providers and you tell them that you will pay them a license fee to provide the educational content online. With 3 phone calls, you'll deliver free education to every single young person in South Africa on an iPad. Her first objection, she says, what happens if they steal the iPads? Which is fair. It's a fair question. This is, after all, the South. So I said, no, man, they won't steal the iPads. Do you know why? Because nobody understands supply and demand economics better than a criminal. It just won't happen. We are where we are, I think, because the people crafted and charged with crafting our solutions are thinking about the world we're in as the world we used to be in. It's a pervasive and an insidious school of thought. It's everywhere. It's why an independent filmmaker can't get her stuff published in her own country and must leave and get accredited somewhere else before we go, what an incredible story. It's a South Africanism, Mark. So let me give you the macros of how the world have changed. Let me give you 3 economies, all African, and show you why it's important to make this shift. First, one of my favorite places in the world, Angola. If you've never been, go. They sell the world's most expensive burger, true story. $69 for buns and a patty. $69. Why? Because of the rate of the development of the middle class and the nouveau riche in Angola. Angola has more Bugattis than South Africa.
Sure.
We, I think, have 2. They have 3. I race V12, so it's kind of in my world to know this. Look at what's happened for the economy of Angola over the past 50 years. In 1962, the 3 main exports coming out of the Angolan economy were coffee, fiber, and flowers. Watch what's happened over the past 50 years. If you're not in petroleum in Angola today, you don't really have a business. So you notice that they've moved their economy from an agrarian economy to an industrial economy. Go to one of my favorite places in the world, Morocco. And by the way, South Africans, watch out for Morocco. This will be the South Africa of Africa by the year 2100. About this, I'm certain. They created a special dispensation in Morocco for people that do what I do, work in capital markets. If you work in capital markets, you can set up a business, a registered financial services institution in Morocco. They will pay for your first year's payroll for free. They will domicile you and your entire staff, and they will give you land and rental for a business for free. They will also give you a visa-free stay for the first 5 years, and if you want, you can elect to get citizenship.
Sure.
Most people are not aware of this. Morocco was on a complete path to break down and disintermediate the domination that you have seen by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And between them and Mauritius, we're not doing ourselves any favors. For the past 50 years, the Moroccan economy has gone from 1962 aluminium, oranges, and tomatoes. You notice these are agrarian activities or slight industrial in mining. They've made themselves a high-tech economy. Today, you'll find them doing insulated wires, which you need for all the wire, copper, and fibers, inorganic acids, and fertilizers. People think fertilizers are shit business, and they are. It's true. What you're not aware of is how incredibly complex fertilizer businesses are. Do you know that the active agent that goes into a fertilizer is the same active agent that goes into making an explosive? Yep. That's why AECI, which manufactures fertilizers, also makes explosives for the mines. Incredibly complex business. Then let's come to our own country, South Africa. 1962, these were our 3 main exports, woolen, fleece, maize, and oils. And what we've done is we've gone slight industrial, heavy on the mining sector, gold, metals, and diamonds since. The challenge we're in is we are now locked in an industrial complex that has given us the mineral industrial complex in a world that's driven around technology, innovation, and education. And that is why we think we need to build a university rather than simply provision education. I think if you wanted to explain it, you would do it this way. One of my dreams is to deliver a keynote at an ANC NEC meeting. It's a true story. I picture myself as the fly on the wall, listening to the comrades shout over each other. Then I come in, as I do, with my smooth English, as I have, and I just kill it, comrades, I kill it. But I think the challenge we face in South Africa is that we don't have coordinated thinking. The Indian people in the province of Punjab, which is predominantly Hindi, talk about this concept. It's a beautiful poem, by the way, of the elephant and the 6 blind men. And what the poem says is, if you took an elephant and put around it 6 blind men, gave each of those blind men a different part of the elephant to hold, and asked them what it is they were holding, they would give you an answer which felt personally true but was holistically false. So for the person holding the tail, they might think they're holding a snake. For the person holding the ear, they might think they're holding the leaf of a palm tree. And the one holding the foot, perhaps the tree trunk. Precisely because they're blind, if they don't ask, is there anyone else here, what are you holding? And through a system of connected intelligence understand the greater picture, they will all think they are correct. And I think that's kind of where we are. There is no collaborated and what we call singularity in thinking that gives a single point of view. So a Minister of Finance publishes a document about how to restructure the South African economy, and exactly the same way he does it, a Minister in Economic Development goes, well, that's directly against our policies. And I'm wondering, how am I as a member of public supposed to support this if the two of you can't sing from the same hymn sheet? It's the vested interest, I think, that holds us back. So what can we do? I want you to imagine I gave you $1 each, and I asked you to buy a share in one of these businesses, and each share was trading for $1. You could only choose one, you can't choose both. And here they are, Amazon and Alibaba. Both, if you think about it, do similar things, but look at their numbers. Amazon has 5 times the revenues of Alibaba, but generates almost identical net profits. I used to work for an incredible entrepreneur, a fellow called Bill Lynch. He came to South Africa as a young child after World War II. He started working in a small dealership in Joburg town called Imperial Motors. And Bill Lynch built Imperial, the business. So I worked at Imperial Capital, which was like the private equity part of Bill Lynch's business. And I learned from this incredible Irishman who worked 21 out of 24 hours every single day, Monday to
hope you guys really enjoyed that video. For me, that was an amazing evening. I got so much insight from all the speakers that were there. But let me just share with you guys a couple of things that really stood out for me the most. Vusi Thembekwayo's speech, or keynote rather, was entirely fascinating. It was well studied, and I got a lot of insight, and one of the biggest things that stood out for me in the beginning, which is what he spoke about, learning how to normalize failure and realize that sometimes failure is not always like the end goal or like the end thing where you don't take it as like a set stone, you failed in life, but to normalize it because it will always constantly reoccur in our lives all the time. So that for me was amazing. Like, guys, I literally wrote notes like, yeah, this was me the entire time, because whoa, it was a lot. And there's something that he said that really spoke to me quite a lot. And he says, transformation is a process, it's not an event. Oh, fantastic. I was like, Gajan, like, how do you spit such gems? Like, that for me was super interesting, because you actually realize that sometimes we seek for change overnight. We seek to become the greatest entrepreneur tomorrow night, or whatever the case is. But he was just basically saying that it is a process, also will go up. But the thing about it was, the awareness of the process. That was pretty cool for me. And then another speaker that actually stole my heart that day was a lady called Lynette Ndlovu. It was my first time hearing about her. I'd seen her on CNBC before, but like, I just did not know like what she was entirely about. But I really saw her for the first time speak, and I was so gobsmacked. Like, I think it's very rare that I find people that I'm like, that's where I want to be. Like that's what I am trying to achieve, you know. And for me, she spoke so much live, and she shared so many gems that I'm like, I don't even know which one to share with you guys, because I know that this vlog has been long already, so I need to keep it together, you know. But one of the greatest things that I really got from her was the fact that success is sometimes quitting, like some success is sometimes not winning. And that for me was very hard to stomach, but I eventually got it, because I then realized that sometimes just the ability to realize defeat is success, because you're just removing yourself out of a situation that could have turned otherwise worse, you know. But really being true to yourself, for me, has become a really point of success. So that was a powerful gem. And she said something, I'm actually going to quote her. She said that those who win are very aligned to their why. And that, I think a lot of people do stress the whole why thing, like really kind of get to a point of figuring out what is your why in life, what is your purpose, what is your vision, why do you do what you do. And she was just really stressing that the guys that really make it, the guys that really succeed, are the guys who truly know why they're doing what they're doing. So for me, that was a reminder of everything else that I'm doing in my life, to say, you know, why am I doing what I'm doing, and is my why really good enough to keep me awake? And if it is, how do I maximize that why? Like, how do I keep it to captivate me all the time? So for me, that was really cool. And then the last one that I'll share with you guys, there's literally so much. I think you guys need to like follow her and kind of get to know everything else that she's talking about. And the other thing that she really said, that she actually was basing the whole topic, the whole keynote, was replay, reset, and rematch. You know, and also talking about how it's not over, how you can always constantly be working on yourself, but you make a conscious decision every single day to get up and say, listen, I know it's November, I know it's almost December, but it's still TikTok, and I can still go ahead and achieve all my goals. So yeah, that was super exciting. So I would definitely urge every single person out there, do join Suits and Sneakers. I am part of the groups. I do go to these monthly events that they host. They're really powerful for me, and I think it's also a great opportunity to network with other entrepreneurs as well that are in different fields, and also just to get insight. I feel like sometimes in business there are times where you kind of feel like you're all alone and it's such a mess and blah 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 blah, but that kind of gives me a bit of peace when people are talking about how hard it is, and I'm like, hey, just say so what you're saying is actually true. You know, there's that relevance and relating. And I actually met my mentor that I've told you guys about at the Suits and Sneakers event. So yeah, man, I'm really excited. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm so excited for more content that's about to come, and I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.